Now, the question bears to be asked, and it's a tad bit rhetorical. Why isn't this information in every cardiologist's information sitting there to hand to every prospective surgery patient that walks through their door?
Well, that's, I don't mean to step on toes here, but I got to tell you, if I'm selling Cadillacs and you came through that door and said, you know what, I'm looking for Volkswagens, I'm going to sit you in that Cadillac, tell you how good you look, how it matches your eyes. This car is you. I'm going to do the best to sell you that Cadillac. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you missed the turnoff. It's 2 blocks down the way, because I make my living selling Cadillacs. So I will do everything in my power to sell you that Cadillac. Well, a doctor, after med school and, paying bills and everything else, he's got a living to make. I can't hold it against him. So why would he tell you to go to GNC and pick up something when he actually makes his living doing surgery? So, he's got bills to pay just like we all do. So that's how he makes his living. It's an unfortunate statement, but it's a true statement, and I can back that up by saying this. I worked at a pharmaceutical company in 2001 and 2002 that had a nutraceutical division that had the first Arginine product on the market that was formulated by John Cook, who's chief of vascular medicine at Stanford, top cardiologist. And they knew about it. We went to doctors and, told them about it and gave them samples and did all that just like a pharmaceutical company would. But what's funny is I would get the call at the company and somebody would say, yeah, my doctor told me to order some of this product and it's supposed to help me. And I'd interview them and I'd find out that the doctor had already put in 3 stents or had done 2 bypasses or something like that. And basically either the person's insurance ran out or it was getting too risky to keep going that route. Now he turns them on to something called Arginine instead of starting out that way. So, that's just the way life goes, the cycle of life.
Well, then it behooves us to get educated about this instead of just hoping that one day that we're going to do it when we're on death's door. In fact, I mentioned that there was another product that I'd been taking that had netted such good results for me in the test, and it certainly was L-arginine. And, it's fascinating because when we talk about just the heart, and I want you to go into this a little bit further and its other benefits, but arginine has helped my husband with his workouts. He used to feel achy and had a lot of pain after working out, and the very first time that we started supplementing with arginine, absolutely no pain. I was hobbling up the stairs after a really hard workout, and it was absolutely incredible. So what is it doing to the human body that's adding that much oxygen?
Well, arginine is an amino acid, one of the 22 amino acids that are necessary for life found in protein. You should get 30% of protein in your diet every day. And arginine is one that converts to something called NO, or nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide has been studied since 1927. In fact, in 1992 it was named Molecule of the Year by Science Magazine, and in 1998, actually, 3 American scientists won the Nobel Prize on nitric oxide. And what they discovered was this, that they were working with nitroglycerin, and they knew nitroglycerin was a vasodilator. It opened up the arteries and prevented people from having heart attacks if they start having angina or chest pain. So they said, well, wait a minute, there's got to be something in this nitroglycerin. So they broke it down, and they found nitric oxide. Then they said, well, wait a minute, if nitroglycerin is converting nitric oxide, and it's doing this, that means the body must have the ability to produce its own, and is producing it. Maybe there's just not enough. So they discovered that's the answer. Well, you can't take nitric oxide in a gas form, in a liquid form, or a pill form, or anything like that. But what they discovered, actually, they didn't discover. Dr. Salvador Moncada in England discovered that arginine, the amino acid, actually converts to nitric oxide. Now, when that happens, when it converts over, it works miracles in the body. One of the things it does, it's a vasodilator. It opens up. It relaxes the blood vessels, which lowers people's blood pressure, increases oxygen and blood flow, not only to the heart, but all the organs, everywhere blood flows. It also softens the arteries, reversing arteriosclerosis. It has the ability, according to John Cook, who wrote the book The Cardiovascular Cure, to melt away plaque.
Whoa.
And as that nitric oxide burns, that gas burns off, it takes plaque with it, so over time it slowly melts plaque away. It has the ability to cross the brain barrier and increase long-term, short-term memory. It has the ability to work within the immune system and boost the T cell and the B cell count, as well as the NK, which is your natural killer cancer cell count. All these wonderful things are done just by supplementing with at least 5 grams or 5,000 milligrams of arginine every day. So I've been taking arginine every day since 2001, so over the last 8 years. And like I said, I plan on never having a heart attack, never having a stroke. It's also an anticoagulant. It prevents, blood from clotting. It's also an anti-inflammatory. In fact, the non-addictive active ingredient in morphine is actually nitric oxide. So it's a wonderful anti-inflammatory. So, I mean, it's just, according to Jonathan Stamler at Duke University, he said this: nitric oxide does everything everywhere in the body. You cannot name one physiological function in which nitric oxide does not play a critical role. And our body is made up of 9 functioning systems. We have our cardiovascular, our respiratory, our digestive, our sexual, our skeletal, our excretory, our nervous. All these different systems benefit from the production of nitric oxide, and supplementing with 5 grams of arginine creates that nitric oxide and works miracles in our body.
Now, you mentioned that it affects the sexual aspect of people's lives as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, sure. Viagra was actually discovered. It was one of those things that doctors were looking for, scientists were looking for, to produce nitric oxide. So in working it, they were giving it to heart patients, but they weren't getting the results they wanted, and so they asked the heart patients to send those blue pills back, and what they discovered was the heart patients weren't sending the blue pills back, right? Because there was a side effect, and it was curing erectile dysfunction. Now, what they've since discovered is if a man has erectile dysfunction, chances are he also has heart disease, because it works along the same parameters, it's the same blood vessels, the same vascular system. So that is what Viagra does. It actually amplifies nitric oxide in the body. Now, the difference between that, with its side effects, which you can lose your hearing, you can go blind, you can, have a heart attack, stroke, increased blood pressure, and so on,
problems.
Is that arginine not only takes care of erectile dysfunction, but it takes care of the problem. You see, drugs, all they do is correct the symptom. You want to lower blood pressure, let's lower the number, but they're not treating the problem. They slow down your heart to lower the number. They remove fluid to lower the number. They affect the kidneys to lower the number, but they're not treating the problem, which is usually hardening of the arteries or plaque buildup in the arteries.
And if they are...
long run, you end up having a heart attack or stroke anyway.
And if they don't have any major side effects, a lot of times they're so targeted that they're not really treating the whole person, which you have placed an emphasis on, I'm sure, as a naturopathic physician. Going back to health issues, and incidentally, I know that you're staying neutral here in terms of what you're suggesting people take in terms of arginine, but I will have some information up on screen for people, something that I found that's great. But what other things can people do for their cardiovascular system, and then we'll need to close off here.
Okay. Outside of 5 grams of arginine, Dr. Luig now recommends a couple other things, okay? One of the things, he's the Nobel Prize winner, and he wrote a book called No More Heart Disease, so I think he knows what he's talking about. He recommends taking citrulline. Now, citrulline is another amino acid that actually amplifies the effect of arginine. The other thing he recommends is antioxidants, and the reason being is nitric oxide is a gas, and when that gas is created in the body, it's an oxidizing agent, which causes free radical damage and can cause cancer and other problems. So it's a two-edged sword. It's doing good, but it's also doing bad. But if you take antioxidants with it, then it prevents that oxidation. So I would recommend the OPCs, which are your grape seed and grape skin extracts, because they're more powerful than vitamin C and E, 50 times more powerful than vitamin C, 10 times more powerful than vitamin E. So you need to have some sort of antioxidant with it. I also would recommend CoQ10.